If you're about to join KMTC for nursing school, first of all, congratulations. And I decided to make a video to let you guys know about the things I wish I knew before joining KMTC. I'm a KMTC nurse working currently, so I can give you some tips and tricks and just information on what you should expect as you join KMTC. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I'm Miss Limo. If you're new here, I do nursing and lifestyle content, and welcome to the family. Yeah, only want you love I get a lot of questions on what's the first day like, how was it for you. My first day was I was actually pretty excited because I wanted to do nursing, and specific nursing I did, which was mental health and psychiatric nursing. So for my first day, was I excited? I was just zen. Yeah, but I was a bit nervous because there's a lot of misinformation online and you don't know what to expect. You're a bit scared. You're like, what if I go and it's like high school? But really, once you settle down, make friends and understand how things work, it'll be much easier. The nerves will settle and you'll just be a part of the system basically. So I'm gonna break this video down into specific sections. The question I get a lot is, which uniform should I get? What's not necessary? I would say, first of all, get the basic uniform, which for the guys is the trouser, black trouser and the white shirt, and then for the ladies is a dress basically. And then I would advise you to get, especially if you're going to an area that is cold, I would advise you to get the full sweater and the half sweater, white socks, and then black shoes. It really doesn't have to be toughies, but I guess it depends on the campus. For my campus, we just wore black shoes, but I would recommend like black leather doll shoes, you know, the plastic-ish doll shoes that you can just wipe. That's the safest option. But if it's a campus that is really strict, I've seen some campuses all have toughies, but I'm not really sure about that. Yeah. And then for the clinical placements, you need a lab coat for the gents and ladies actually, but for nursing, for the ladies, just get the apron, no need to get a lab coat. For the blazer, it's not really compulsory, but if you would prefer to get it, actually, if you want to get it, especially if it's a cold area, so you can have an extra layer. But I actually never wore a blazer, I didn't get one. And for the nurse cap, I don't think I've ever seen anyone wearing that nurse cap thing. I bought it and I don't even know where it is, so I wouldn't recommend you to get it. And then if you've received your admission letter, I'm assuming you've seen that section where it's talking about Nursing Council of Kenya. So nursing is a professional career. I don't know how to put it here. So we have a licensing body, which is the Nursing Council of Kenya, and there are 3 payments we make. So when you enroll, soon after you'll be asked to pay 9,400, which after you pay you'll get 3 books. One is the assessment tool, procedure manual, and I think practical record book. The assessment tool is what you'll be getting assessed with during your clinical placements, which I'll talk about more later in the video. And then for the procedure manual, is just a book that explains every nursing procedure, how you should do it, yeah, stuff like that. Then for the third one is a practical record book, again for clinical placements. After you're done with a rotation, let's say you are in maternity ward, after you're done, your supervisor will sign, which could be the nurse in charge or just a nurse in the ward. And then after you're done with your studies, you pay 8,000, which is now basically you're paying before you do the licensing exam. And then after you pass the licensing exam, you pay 5,000 to get your license. So about school fees, I can only speak for my course, but I think it cuts across. Per year, it was 80,000, which was broken down per semester, which each semester is 6 months each. So for the first semester, you pay like 39,000 and something. For the second semester, similar. But for your first semester, the costs will be a bit more because you have to pay for a lot of different things, right? And also something that you'll have to budget for is 1,500 that you pay to SRC, which is the Student Representative Council, I think. Yeah, but you only pay for that in the first semester, and after that you don't pay that anymore. From there, the fees are constant. So if you need financial help, you can actually apply for help through the AFIA program. And for KMTC, it's a bit different. It works differently. For unis, I know you get the money directly and you pay for your fees, and you can also use it for other expenses. But for KMTC, your money goes directly from HELB to your school fees account. I know you probably got a long list of books and you're confused on which books to get. You're not sure which one is important, which one not to get. I would say for nursing students specifically, there are 3 books I would recommend. I would say these are the best. Number 1, I would say Anatomy and Physiology, Ross and Wilson. Number 2, Textbook of Medical Surgical Nursing. I'll have them on the screen. And then the third one is the Miles Textbook for Midwives. Those are the top 3 books I would recommend, but you really don't have to buy all of those books because I know they're pretty expensive. So what you can do is prioritize one, or most of these books you can find at your library. If not, you can find soft copies of them, or you can just find them on YouTube. You can study using YouTube. If you need study tips on how to ace this nursing thing, I have a video giving you all the study tips, everything I used while I was in nursing school, so you can check that out. I'll have it also on the screen. I'll link it right here or right here, I don't know. Yeah, so for the books, don't really stress too much about it. Maybe focus on uniform and this course that you're catering for, and if you have extra money for books, go for them. And then we go to hostels. For hostels, I would say it's on a first come first serve basis, but first years are usually given priority as long as you've made all the payments for fees, for the SRC, everything. I think hostels are different depending on the campus, but I'm just gonna speak for my campus. For my campus, it was a shared room of 4 people, and you pay 5,000 shillings per semester. So you see, for 6 months you pay 5,000. It's quite affordable, but now the conditions are different because there are some that have a lot of issues, some are really clean, really no issues. So it just depends on your campus. I stayed on campus for my first semester, but the hostel had some issues, so I was just like, I moved out and I stayed with my sister for the rest of college. But it's not that bad, honestly. It's manageable. And if for the first semester you'll stay with strangers, but you'll make friends, and in the second semester now you can move in with your friends. So next we go to the class schedule or the classes. How do the classes run? How does the program run? So for your first year, I remember the first week was for admissions, then the second week was for orientation. And then when you start classes, I'm not really sure if this cuts across all campuses, but for mine, we had 3 classes in a day. First one from 8:15 to 10:15 a.m. Then you go for a break. Then second class from 10:45 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. Then you go take lunch. Then the third one from 2 to 4 p.m. Sometimes lecturers can request an extra class or a makeup class in the evening from 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 sometimes. It just depends on how the program is running. Or sometimes you might not have classes during the day and you arrange with your lecturer maybe having an online class at night, but it depends. For my campus, when you didn't have a class during the day, you could just go home or go read somewhere else. But for some campuses, I hear even if you don't have a class, you have to sit in class till 4 p.m. So it really just depends. So next, we're gonna go to clinical placements. I'm gonna speak specifically for nursing because that's what I know about, but I think this could apply to different courses. During your training, after the first semester, from the second semester 1.2, you'll be going for clinical placements, which is where you go to different hospitals in different areas to interact with patients and apply the procedures you've been learning and just learn how the hospital system works. You'll be going to, I think by the time you finish your final year, you would have gone to all the departments in the hospitals and probably even a few times. Now, when you go to this clinical placement, this is where you're going to learn a lot, and you really need to make sure you're gaining as much as you can as a student, because when you get licensed, you're the one who will be teaching others and you will need to have grasped these concepts. You remember when I told you about the assessment tool and the practical record book? So during your clinical placement, after you finish each rotation, your lecturer comes with a nurse from the hospital and they assess you using the assessment tool, and you need to pass these assessments. These assessments are usually different procedures that happen in the different wards. So for example, it could be NG tube feeding, it could be wound dressing, it could be drug administration. You need to know how to do these things according to how the procedure manual dictates it, right? Yeah. So for the clinical placements, really depends. Sometimes we catered for our own transport, especially if you're going like somewhere that's really far. You cater for your own transport, you get to the place, you find a rental, or if you're lucky and there are hostels, you can get the hostels, you cater for your own food. So during this time you really need to like inform your parents so that they know, I'm done with classes in 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you're going for clinical placement, so they can organize their finances. For example, I did go to, for my first semester it was Kiambu. First year it was Kiambu level 5, so it was just commuting. Then from second year I went to Kajiado, had to look for a house in Kajiado. Went to Maragua in Muranga, had to look for a house there. And then I went to Maragua twice actually. And then for the final one, we went to Mathare too. So it was the same commute as just going to school because I was in Mathare campus. Yeah. And then for the last semester, the last year is rural, so you go really far to hospitals in the communities. And for us, we went to Mombasa. So the school doesn't cater for that sometimes. Sometimes the bus will take you, sometimes it won't, so you just need to plan yourself. So I've gotten a lot of anxious questions about exams. Are KMTC exams hard? What's the pass mark? The pass mark is 50% for every exam. And depending on how heavy the unit is, it can be a full paper out of 100, or it can be a paper out of 50, which they just double the final mark to get your percentage. I would say the exams aren't hard, especially if you read and you're intentional about how you're studying, which again, I planned my video on study tips. I don't want to repeat myself. It goes in depth on what you need to know and how to read specifically for exams, because you're not going to read that whole textbook. You need to know what you're reading and the examinable points. Yeah, so for examinations, if you do fail, which happens in college, you get a supplementary. The supplementary exam is usually free. You don't get charged for it. But now if you fail this supplementary, you run the risk of getting demoted to a class lower, or repeating that unit depending on how heavy that unit is. For example, if it's a unit like medical, surgical, nursing, probably you get demoted, but it just depends on your performance in the other units and how the school system works. But aim to not fail the supplementary. When you get a chance to do the supplementary, do your best, because you run the risk of getting demoted. But yeah, I would say the exams are manageable if you study intentionally, that is. So for the next one, we're going to talk about holidays. For holidays, we do get breaks. We're not in school 24/7. I'm going to speak for myself. We used to get a 2-week break in December or January or February, somewhere there. Because clinical placements affect when you get your holidays. So it just depends. But we usually got a 2-week break in December, or sometimes in January, or sometimes in February. And then in August, you break for the whole month. Yeah, those are the holidays. And then we can then talk about something important, which is following the rules and regulations. It's a common theme out here that KMTC is a strict school, which it is, but you really need to try and stay out of trouble, because the moment you start getting in trouble, you now start rubbing shoulders with the administration. It really could mess up your studies, because people do get suspension, and suspensions are 6 months to 1 year, which is literally a whole year out of your 3 years you're supposed to be in school, or like a whole semester, and you fall behind, and you start falling behind on your studies. So I would just advise, try and stay out of trouble, and it's not really that hard. So during orientation, you'll have a session where you get read all the rules and regulations, and they're not hard to follow, to be honest. But I would say, once you settle down, look around and see how everything is, because some campuses have issues with even like blonde hair, having long nails. So you see how it is there. If they have an issue with nails, just don't have nails for 3 years, or you can have them during the holiday. It's not really a big deal. If they have issues with colored hair, or they want you to wear tafis, just do it. It's only for a season, and you're gonna reap the benefits. I would say an example for me, I had a nose piercing in my first year, and we had a lecturer who kept coming to class and having us remove it, and sometimes you'd even get in trouble. And I was just like, what, a nose piercing is not a necessity. I can just take it out, and I did, and my life didn't end. So yeah, try and stay out of trouble. So we've come to the end of the video. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope I've answered some of your questions. If you have any more questions or need clarity on anything, just feel free to comment down below and I'll give you an answer. I really wish you the best on this new journey. I know it can be a bit intimidating, but you're gonna be fine. There are a lot of resources online, so one advice I would give you: take advantage of the online resources, try to stay a step ahead, and also balance your school and personal life. Don't get too engrossed in school and then to the point where you get depressed, you have no friends. Try and balance it a bit, like 80-20 school, 20 personal life. Yeah, wishing you all the best. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.